So let me ask the first questions. So if governments not willing sharing data with other countries, is it fair? Unwilling share data with other countries, is it fair for the whole entire big data industry?
Maybe I can.
To their open data policy? You referring to the open data policy? Yeah.
Maybe I can explain more. That means big organizations or government have their own database. So if they don't unwilling to share their data, is that fair or is it selfish behavior?
Actually, that problem should be refined. Sometimes government is not sharing with their own people, not just with outside people. So do you want us to answer, outside or within its own jurisdiction?
I want to ask.
Okay, let me just kickstart. I'm not sure I can completely answer the question, but actually this is one of the areas that I'm working on is about the freedom of information. Now currently is under the government, the Law Reform Commission is just launched a few months ago. There's a new consultation on the freedom of information legislation as well as the archive law. It basically asks the right question whether or not the government must release the information to the public. I'm not asking to release to the other country. I'm not asking we have to release the information to China, US, Canada, but actually we have to ask a question. There are a lot of public data. The government get hold of a lot of government data and basically can enable a lot of opportunity, enable a lot of business, social, and economic opportunity. I just take a simple example, transportation information. Now it's not public. For example, bus scheduling information, MPR scheduling information is get hold, monopolized by one single company and by the Transport Bureau. But now the whole, Dr. Suen just mentioned, the API economy, basically it opened up the data and let a lot of third-party company to enable the power of data, to create new application, to compile a different data source, to create new application and stimulate the economy. That's the whole way to make open data become the new economy, but I don't think that now the current government really understands this.
Yeah, public data is not about other kinds of data. It's a very complex issue. There's another related domain is privacy. Okay, there's certain domain of information that is not under public information, and it will be very complicated legally and ethically. But at least public data. It's very under the government open data policy and also smart city initiative. Now Hong Kong government has a smart city blueprint, just published a year ago. And if that is the long-term objective, then they have to have the right policy and the right, follow-up initiative to make it happen. But just like Professor Fu just said, we don't see that yet. And even for the data that's published, many of them are not in machine-readable form. And that is very tough for developers or academics, to build models, or it make them have to spend extra hard work to use those data.
Yeah, I think there are quite a lot of misunderstanding of open data nowadays, even for the governments and for the public. Like Professor Suen said, that it must be, if you are talking about open data, it must be machine readable, executable. Otherwise, it's something like the statistics department released the statistic report. That's not open data. So if you look at Singapore or Taiwan, they are ranked at the highest level of open data, but still, there are quite a lot of debates about that. So, and also the privacy issues. So I think this should be paying more attention to what is the definition of the open data and what open data can bring to us for the development of the city, especially smart city, like transportation, like geographical data, and also quite a lot of the data regarding the weather. Like you can combine weather, transportation, and it can help us to develop the apps like for smart tourism, for smart transportation, this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and I want to ask, how would you suggest that the privacy of personal data in social media that can be protected now? Because in personal information leak happens every day, even in the headline newspaper. Yeah. How can be our personal data could be protected?
Are you aware? I assume that you have quite a few apps loaded on your mobile phone.
Yes.
Am I right? Have you checked the setting of those apps?
No.
You know, they can read your contact list,
Yeah, yes.
screen your pictures.
Because I allow them to access.
Because, yeah,
Yes.
but sometimes, you know, by default, you never examine those setup, right? And sometimes when you download an app, you don't necessarily know the organization that released that app, what's the commercial or other intent. For you, it's convenient, it's cool, it's fun, right? So I think there's different dimension. One dimension is definitely personal. You, as an individual, you also have the responsibility to protect your own privacy. But unfortunately, I mean, partly is, I think, is education. Unless we have a better, I mean, that's why I've been advocating, you know, the literacy, you know, computational literacy. You have to become a more sophisticated user of computational technology. Otherwise, you'll be easily manipulated and easily fooled, you know, in the name of convenience and fun. You are sacrificing a lot of your personal privacy to parties you never know their intent.
A quick
Okay.
reply. If this is exactly the point that a lot of people in academia talk about, what we call the privacy paradox. That means the people keep complaining there's an infringement of the privacy, but at the same time, they hand over the whole personal information to the service provider. At the same time, okay. So, it's not a convenience. That is something that I think everyone should have to reflect on this point and think whether or not you really accept what kind of information. And secondly, if you're really concerned about personal data, my humble suggestion, don't use any smartphone anymore. It's truly don't use anymore. If you want to go online, you use Facebook, don't use the app version, use the website, web browser service. Don't use any app. Remove any app, remove everything. Don't use WhatsApp is really also dangerous. Don't use any app, just your website. That is the best, my suggestion. Thank you.
When we learn communication, there's a saying, no man is an island. I don't think you can escape. It is a trade-off. Whether you use it or you just quit. But when I say this, of course, there are still quite a lot of things that we can do to protect, like for government or for those owner of the data, or for those people who collect the data, you got to have the sense of data ethics, the data ethics. Whether you collect the data for what purpose. Actually, nowadays, the problem is people use the data not for the original purpose, but they sell, and they use the other ways. That's the problem. So I think this is the way that what I talk a lot about this with my colleagues and academic circles, that in the past, when we are doing the marketing research or the social research, we collect data from the interviews with our respondents. And we have a very strict ethical standards for how we deal with the data that we collect. But nowadays, For the apps, for the data company, it seems that we forget everything. That's what I'm saying, that we got to go back to the data ethics, like the professional standards that we need to follow. That's what my point of view. Thank you.
Okay, there's a student want to ask question, please.
So,
Hello, I'm a student from year
Could you
3.
just stand up, please?
Hi, I'm a student from year 3. I want to ask about the learning artificial intelligence. Undoubtedly, the learning AI have made a big progress for the convenience to human lives by collecting big data. And there are language translation devices popping up in recent years. Users can communicate with the locals with the device when they travel around the world. And I would like to ask, do you think the learning AI will provide less incentive or motivation for people to learn new things or new languages instead? Thank you.
Or maybe you repeat your question simply. Thank you.
What I mean is, the learning AI, will it be a progress or a regress? Because it is more convenient to use the translation devices for people traveling around the world. And yeah, will it provide less incentive or motivation for people to learn instead? Thank you.
actually, your question can be generalized. I think nowadays most students are so used to the keyboards, right? I mean, you type, or now, with the handwriting recognition, with gesture recognition and handwriting recognition programs, you can, write on your device. One thing that I observed when I was a kid, we have to learn calligraphy, because back then we didn't have all these electronic devices, so we have plenty of opportunity to practice our handwriting. I mean, today's students don't have that opportunity, and many of you's handwriting are becoming very lousy, very hard to read. But I understand that. So if you look at that from a historical perspective, now ordinary handwriting may be viewed as calligraphy today. So many things that used to be common literacy are gone because of technology. They become an art form, become something very rare. Only a few people practice it. So if I keep expanding that generalization language, in the future you have natural language processing, machine translation becomes so pervasive, so user-friendly. Yeah, maybe it's even better than a human being in doing the translation work. Then what bother to learn another language? My inclination or my instinctive response is your love of culture, love of language. It's not just because of convenience. It's not because of the machine do it better than you. It's because you still have passion about life. I think it will be very sad one day if technology provides us all the convenience, we lose passion in learning. We lose passion in appreciating simple things in life. You see what I mean? Maybe one day there will be an AI chef that can cook really excellent dishes. I know there's a bunch of MIT students. They have opened up restaurants in Boston, and they have studied the cooking techniques of the best chef, and then they build robots that can do all the nice cuisines cooking in the kitchen. But I believe there will still be human chef. And those people do it not because the machine do it better than them, because they just love it. I hope I answer your question.
A quick comment is just a quick question about anyone watched a few months ago this in China. They hosting a large-scale conference. They want to demonstrate the AI techniques. They make use of machine learning technique and do use an anchor to lip sync a person to create an English-speaking anchor on the CCTV. So they broadcast this around 1 minute videos and show it, demonstrate. They want to claim that they can keep 24-hour endless news anchor and repeat news anchor and repeat everything. My question is, do you like it? Do you like this kinds of news reporting? I don't know. I personally don't like it. Yeah, and I'm pretty old school people. When I learn about communication, I learn a lot of, say, 70% of information comes from your body language. That means if you see I'm sitting here talking, you see I have a lot of gesture, you like to see my face, I have some emotional response to your questions, my voice is up and down and sounds like something that responsive. That is something I don't think the technology really can, up to this moment, can really come up something. Perhaps in the future that can be a robot, computer robot, and can create all kinds of gesture and something, but not now. But I don't think really there are a lot of things that really can be done by using AI, but at least at this moment, maybe perhaps maybe 10 years later.
I absolutely agree with two professors' comments. Passion, experience, direct experience. Otherwise, I won't be here today.